I woke up to a number on my screen that made me spit out my coffee. XRP, the crypto that everyone loves to hate, just pulled off something unbelievable. Look, right, I've been in this crypto game for a while, and I've held XRP since 2020. Yeah, I'm one of those really kind of early-ish kind of XRP investors who bought a stack when it was, well, dirt cheap, right? And everyone else was kind of just laughing at it way back then. Now, back then, of course, it was trading for pocket change, right? We're talking around anywhere between 15 and 20 cents. And people kind of called it a banker's coin, said it was just too centralized, said I was crazy for touching it. And for a moment, they almost kind of looked like they were right. This was because not long after I actually got into XRP, wham, the SEC lawsuit hit and my precious XRP crashed pretty hard. Now, I remember that day in late 2020, the US SEC came after Ripple, and overnight XRP plunged from around 50 cents to 17 cents. Right? Imagine seeing your investment freefall like 60% in a blink. When it was kind of like a punch to the gut. Exchanges delisted it, everyone was screaming that XRP was dead, and I had friends telling me that I told you so, and urging me to just cut my losses. But here is the thing, I didn't quit. I hodled for dear life. You can fast forward to today, and I can't believe my eyes. XRP is trading at around $2.85. It is up an insane 388% since the start of 2024. So by comparison, Bitcoin is only up around 78%, and Ether is about 58% in that time frame. So the underdog of large cap crypto, the one that everyone wrote off, is actually, I guess, touting the kind of big boys. What an absolute plot twist, right? Well, even Jamie, right, the guy who founded WallStreetBets of all things, actually just posted about XRP's unexpected rise. He basically said that this token that everyone kind of widely kind of hated is now outperforming thanks to actual network improvements and some regulatory wins. And then he drops the line. What a time to be alive. I mean, coming from WallStreetBets, legend himself, that's actually saying something. What a time to be alive indeed. So, what changed? How did XRP go from this kind of black sheep to the dark horse leading the race? Well, here's a few big things that actually happened. First, the regulatory nightmare cleaned up. Ripple's long court battle with the SEC finally kind of wrapped up in 2024 with a pretty favorable outcome. No more is XRP a security drama, right? Well, that was kind of like taking a giant weight off of XRP's shoulders, right? The uncertainty was gone. Suddenly, XRP wasn't toxic anymore. It was like a cloud lifted, and sunshine just came pouring on in. Almost immediately, we saw new partnerships forming. Heck, Ripple even kind of struck a deal with BNY Mellon, the oldest bank in America. Yeah, a 239-year-old bank jumping on the XRP train. Who saw that one coming? And it's not just BNY. Right? Multiple institutions started stockpiling XRP with over $1 billion disclosed in strategic XRP reserves. Now, when I saw and can see big money kind of betting on XRP, you knew that something is up. Second, the tech just got better, and people really did notice. Now, the XRP ledger kept evolving, right? We're talking ongoing network upgrades that made the system faster and more efficient. Now, do you know how wire transfers or SWIFT can take days, right? Well, Ripple's network can do settlements in seconds. Influencers like Ben Armstrong, you probably know this guy as BitBoy, he kind of pointed out that XRP's ultra-fast payment tech, seconds versus days with old-school banks, is actually a huge advantage. I mean, who knew, right? It takes BitBoy to tell you. Anyway, I have this buddy who kind of waited a week or so for an international payment, so bank transfer, most recently, and I showed him an XRP demo, and he was just blown away that it kind of zips cross-border money around practically in, well, real time. Now, it's that kind of real-world utility that gives me a bit of goosebumps, because it's not just hype, is it? It's actually something that you can feel when you actually see it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, right? Riding XRP from 2020 into 2025 has been a roller coaster with loops de loops, right? And these are things that I just never expected. Now, through it all, one thing that kind of kept me sane was the community. Now, I lurked on forums, I followed the Twitter threads, and I hung out in our Discord group. And here's a shout out to the free educational Discord server. There is a link in the description down below. It's where we share crypto insights and sometimes just commiserate on days when everything is a bit red. Now, being part of an XRP community actually helped turn those anxious 3 a.m. moments into learning experiences and, well, sometimes inside jokes. Like, there were times that we would meme XRP $589, right? That's an old joke / prediction, and just to kind of keep our spirits up. Now, it sounds a bit silly, but to be honest, it did help. Now, here's a true story, right? At one point, I almost sold all of my XRP. I was fed up with the lawsuit delays and the price stagnating around maybe 30 cents or so. I thought maybe all of the haters were right. Maybe this coin is going nowhere. But something in my gut, right, and maybe a few late night chats with the XRP buddies on the Discord convinced me to actually hold on just a little bit longer. And I'm so kind of glad that I did, because that's when things actually started happening, right? In late 2024, out of nowhere, XRP rocketed from around 50 cents to $3.40 in just a matter of weeks. That's nearly a 7x gain just as the market realized that the SEC case was ending. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, and admittedly, almighty BTC if you will, went from around 68k to 112k in that same time period. Nothing to sniff at, right? But that's only like 64% up. Seeing XRP vastly outperform Bitcoin like that was surreal. It was like watching David not just beat Goliath, but also just run a few laps around the stadium for good measure. And get this, some analysts think that this is really just the start. There's this guy, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋, who runs Alpha Lions Academy, who basically argues that XRP's risk reward is actually way better than Bitcoin's at these prices. Now, he even said, and I love this part, that you'd have to be insane to think that BTC is better bet right now. And his logic, well, if Bitcoin goes on a tear, let's say to $500,000 someday, well, that's about a 5x from its current price, right? But XRP, if the stars align, it could go from a few bucks to $100 in that scenario. So you can do the math. That's more than 40x gains, 40 times. So when I heard that, I literally kind of reran the numbers on my calculator twice, just to make sure that I wasn't seeing anything that I shouldn't have been. So a $100 XRP, it sounds absolutely bonkers to many, I know, but a $500,000 Bitcoin also sounds pretty bonkers, right? Until you remember that people once thought that $20,000 Bitcoin was also crazy. And here we are, well over 100k now. The point is that the upside potential on XRP could be life-changing if it even gets close to some of those projections. Now, before I go any further, let me just kind of put this out there loud and clear. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your own responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, I'm glad that we kind of got that, obligatory but super important disclaimer out there and out of the way, because when we start talking about moonshot scenarios like $100 XRP, you need a bit of a reality check. Now, crypto is risky, there's no doubt about it, and I'm literally watching XRP dip, and spike around 5 or 10% on some days. And I've lived through it crashing 60% in a day. So I would never tell anyone to bet the farm on it. What I am saying is, look at the trend and the trajectory that is here. Now, there's a reason that I'm so excited about XRP's future. Despite all of the risks, right, we have seen what can happen when momentum, tech, and timing all come together. Now, another crypto commentator, Dustin Layton, put it in a way that kind of really hit home for me. Now, he compared XRP's current price to Bitcoin at 5 cents back in the day. Yeah, 5 cents, early Bitcoin. Now, he called XRP at today's prices a generational entry, meaning an opportunity that might not really come around, again, and is really just a once in a generation thing. And he backed it up with a pretty wild stat. Bitcoin's lifetime ROI is something like 2,281, that's my bad, 2,281,602%. And yes, that's why I had to check all those decimals, right? We're talking 2 million%, turning $100 into millions now. I'm not saying that XRP is going to do that. I am not delusional, but hearing that comparison made me think of what might be possible if XRP really does fulfill its potential over the next decade. And it gave me a few chills, right? It also made me double check that I had my login for my XRP wallet to hand, because I might want to just add a little bit more to my bag if we get another pullback. Just my personal thoughts and, of course, not financial advice. But let me kind of just pump the brakes for a second here, because not everyone is on the XRP party bus, right? And it's important to talk about why. Now, for one, Ripple, that's the company, still owns a pretty huge chunk of XRP, roughly 40% of the total supply. Now, that makes a lot of people a bit uneasy. The worry that Ripple could dump tokens, or that it just kind of flies in the face of decentralization. And I do get it. It is kind of a valid concern. I sometimes ask myself, am I okay with the fact that this isn't 100% pure, decentralized like Bitcoin? It's a trade-off, right? Because Ripple's involvement, it also means that there's a company pushing for the adoption, depending on how you see it. Secondly, even after this massive run, XRP still hasn't broken its old all-time high, right? Which was around $3.84 from back in 2018's bull market peak. So let's think about that. Bitcoin and Ether are way past their all-time highs of 2017 and 2018 peaks, but XRP, despite all of its progress, is still below its record. So skeptics will say, see, it underperforms in the grand scheme. It hasn't even proven itself long term. And, they're not wrong that historically XRP has lagged, at times and moved in, unpredictable ways. And of course, there's the classic refrain, right? XRP will never be the next Bitcoin. Now, I've heard that a million times over. Honestly, XRP doesn't even need to be Bitcoin. It's trying to do something rather different. It's carving out its own path with global payments. But could it one day rival the big dogs in market cap? Well, the haters doubt it. They kind of point things out like XRP to hit $100, its market cap would be astronomical, which seems implausible until it, isn't, right? 5 or 10 years ago is a kind of long time in crypto, right? And market dynamics can change dramatically in that kind of time frame. Guys like BitBoy, who's been around the crypto block a few times, remind us that this isn't, this industry, I guess, has a history of defying all the expectations. After all, market cap isn't showing you anything really other than theoretical value. It doesn't show you much outside of just macro level pricing, which tells me that the price dictates the market cap, not the other way around. And today's implausible can become tomorrow's reality after all. I mean, who would have thought that a meme coin like Dogecoin would have been one of the biggest cryptocurrency coins out there, or that a digital Beanie Baby crypto kitties would kind of clog networks and spark the NFT boom. Some pretty wild stuff happens here, right? So I do acknowledge the risks and all of the doubts. Believe me, I constantly check myself so that I don't get lost in all the hopium. But I also keep the bigger picture in view here. XRP's story is still being written. A few years ago it was XRP is doomed, the SEC is going to kill it. Now, XRP not only survived, it is thriving in a way that very few people actually expected. It's got legal clarity in the United States, it's got a real big name users, and a community that never gave up on it. So that actually counts for a hell of a lot. Now, through this journey, I've learned a whole ton. Not just about XRP, but about patience and conviction. I learned that sometimes the most hated investments actually can become the most rewarding, if you've done your research and truly believe in the use case, that is. Now, I'm not emotionally attached to any of my coins, right? But XRP has earned a little bit of a special place in me, at least for me, I should say, because of what I kind of went through holding the damn thing. It kind of felt like being an underdog supporter cheering on from the sidelines, believing in a team that nobody else actually did. And now that underdog is actually scoring goals. Now, if you're curious about checking out XRP or even dipping a toe into the crypto trading world yourself, then I'm going to share what I use. Lately, I've been using the Blowfin crypto exchange, a pretty slick crypto exchange for trading. And I also use BitGet from time to time as well for certain altcoins and features. Full disclosure though, I've got affiliate links for both Blowfin and BitGet that are down in the description below. So if you do use those, sign up and trade through them, it actually supports the channel here and helps me kind of do these kind of videos. And it doesn't actually cost you anything extra. So there's no pressure to use them, but if you do, I would like to say thank you in advance. I only mention these because, they've worked well for me over the years. And I know that navigating crypto exchanges can be daunting if you are new. All right, let's just take a step back from the technical and all of the hype and just appreciate this for a moment, because I'm sitting here in 2025. I'm sipping on what's left of my coffee, and yes, I made a new cup after the first one ended all over my shirt in that XRP shocker price. Or price shock, I should say, but I opened up my portfolio app and XRP, the very same asset that's had me doubting my sanity in 2020, is shining bright. Now, I see news headlines about WallStreetBets founder marveling at it, institutions buying in, analysts debating if it could even challenge Ethereum or Bitcoin someday. It's kind of surreal. So if you had told me in 2020 that I would be witnessing this today, I probably would have thought of laughing right at your face. But then I was basically the butt of jokes in my crypto friend circle for holding XRP. Now some of those buddies are texting me like, hey man, how do I buy some XRP? Is it too late? The irony, you've got to love it. So, what a time to be alive for XRP holders. Honestly, regardless of what happens next, whether XRP keeps climbing or even just takes a bit of a breather, I'm just happy that I stuck around for this ride. It's validated a whole lot of my belief. But it also reminded me why I got into crypto in the first place, right? This space moves fast and surprises you when you least expect it. Today's underdog can be tomorrow's front runner, and witnessing that transformation firsthand with all of you guys has been nothing short of amazing. So, where does that leave us today, and where do we actually go from here? Well, I'm not going to pretend that I have a crystal ball, because I don't. Right, XRP could keep on surprising us, or it could just hit a few bumps, maybe even likely both. But I'm going to be here for it. I'm going to keep on sharing my journey, the good, the bad, and of course the ugly with you guys. Now, if you're still watching at this point, props to you guys. You clearly do have the patience of an XRP hodler. And if you're an XRP holder yourself, then you can let me know in the comments down below when you got in and how you've actually weathered these swings. I love hearing all of those war stories. Oh, and if you haven't done so already, definitely swing by our Discord. It's a completely free educational server that I mentioned earlier. It's a great place to learn and swap stories with a community that truly does get it. Crypto can be crazy, but you don't have to go it alone. All right, I think it's time to wrap up this personal tale then. The takeaway from my XRP adventure today is keep an open mind and do your own research. Sometimes the investment that everyone kind of mocks could actually end up being the dark horse that runs the fastest. And sometimes holding through the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubt can pay off. But you've got to know why you're holding and be willing to accept if you are wrong. In my case, the bet on XRP so far seems to be paying off beyond what I had initially imagined, and I'm excited and yes, a little nervous to see where it goes next. So thank you for coming along on this little wild journey of mine today. It's been a heck of a story to tell, so why don't you smash that like button for me, hit subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next one.